Hello, and welcome to Conversations with Auntie, where we have real talk about real life situations. I am your host, Tanya Lynne. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the real, the raw, and the unapologetic with Auntie. Well, good evening, everybody, and everybody, good evening. I am your favorite Auntie Tanya Lynne, and excited about this show. Last month, we celebrated me doing a podcast for 2 years, 24 months. But today is my 2-year anniversary of being in the studio, KAZ Radio, TV, and Network. Definitely want to get with them if you're trying to get a podcast together and you don't want to do all the technical stuff. Definitely check out KAZ Radio and TV Network. It's on 7100 Euclid Avenue in Cleveland, Ohio. Larry James will hook you up. Today, we are going to have real talk with my friend Derek Lockett. Listen, buckle up, because you might fall off your couch. You might fall out the chair. You might fall off the bed, because we're about to go in. We don't believe in putting sugar on boo-boo and calling it chocolate. So get ready for the real, the raw, and the relevant conversation with Auntie and Derek Lockett. Hey, D.
Hey.
Welcome to Conversations with Auntie. I've been trying to get you on since I started, but I had to have the right topic. You know, something where you can just bring all of who you are to the table.
Yep.
You're an educator, you're a father, you're a maestro, you're a psalmist, you're a minister, you're an advocate, and you're a black man.
Yes.
And so this is that, and so the reason this topic came up, this ain't that, is because I'm a school nurse, I'm a minister, I'm an advocate, I'm a black woman, and I'm now a senior citizen. So in different phases of life, you come across a lot of unnecessary stuff and necessary things. And the thing and how we were raised is different. Mm-hmm. And it's not necessarily bad. But I've been finding myself in this season telling people, oh no, honey, because this ain't that.
Right.
And then with the climate, because the election and everything going on, I find myself even saying, this ain't that. And I was like, that's a topic. Well, who can I get to do this topic with me? And so you came to mind. I was like, oh, thank you, God. You're right.
Okay.
He's the only one that could do that, because so much is going on, and the people need to understand that there is still hope. But they also need to understand that change is not always a bad thing.
Right.
But they also need to understand when change happens that they don't like, that they have to develop some coping skills.
That's right.
And use and go into their toolbox and look at what their tools are and pull out the right tools so that they can cope with what is going on, because certainly this ain't that. And so just give a little intro of yourself, and I'm going to go on here and share the podcast on my page, and then once it hits live on KAZ Radio TV Network on Facebook, I'll let you know so you can.
Yeah, it's something there now.
It's streaming.
Uh-huh.
Okay, because I don't know why, but it never shows on mine until later. So give them a little. I am Derek Lockett.
So little I am. So I am Derek Lockett. Senior, actually. I'm getting used to putting that senior.
Right.
I got a Derek Lockett Jr., so he's becoming of age, and so I don't want his stuff coming in my name, so I'm teaching him how to have a conversation with the Junior, putting Junior on there.
Right.
But I, again, Derek Lockett Senior. It's crazy that when a lot of people ask you, who are you, you tend to speak to who you are to people, not necessarily who you are. Mm-hmm. But I am principal of Northwest School of the Arts. That's K through 8 Arts Academy on the west side of Cleveland. I am a member of the United Temple Church, where Bishop Philip Jones Sr. is my pastor, where I serve as an elder there. I'm a minister of music. I've been a minister of music for about 35 years. I'm Willie and Dorothy's son.
Listen.
Yes. I throw that out again. Little Derek's daddy. I'm a brother. I'm a friend. Mm-hmm. I'm a whole lot of stuff. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The word of God says, we should be all things to all men so that we might win.
Yes.
we might win some, you
Yes.
know, and that is who you are,
Yeah.
and you have a heart of empathy and compassion towards many, and you've blessed a whole lot of people.
Yes, ma'am.
Some appreciate it, some didn't,
don't.
but you still don't stop.
Yep.
And so this ain't that. Let's talk about education.
Let's talk.
Let's talk about them parents sending them children to school, disrespecting the instructors, trying to clap and don't want to be accountable. Let's talk about that. Because when we were coming up in school, we didn't. Mama did not come in no pajamas and no bonnet on her head. This ain't that.
Right.
This ain't that. And the thing is that somebody said, well, we're in the 90s babies, and so we're not gonna put up with honey. I'm the 60s baby, and we don't tolerate the foolery. So let's speak on what our expectations are from the parents, because if the child is acting up, they learned it from somewhere.
Right. That's right. So one of the pieces for me and who we just talked. I am very. My expectations is my expectations.
Yeah. Uncompromising.
So yeah, it's my expectations. There are some things that I don't tolerate at my school. Although I am very big on social and emotional learning, I'm very big on the root of why a thing is a thing. I don't tolerate foolishness. I don't tolerate foolishness from parents. I don't tolerate foolishness from kids. And so you got to leave up out of here. So that's my thing. You going out of here. So there are a lot of things that I don't tolerate, especially when it comes to dealing with parents. And when it deals with kids. I think I have more patience for kids than I do adults.
You do.
I have a lot of my patience for adults is somewhat limited because the lack of excuse. Some stuff, it shouldn't be an excuse for the stupidity. But when we're dealing with kids, I do have a level of care and concern. But when it comes to things at my school, I'm very big on bullying. I don't tolerate bullying.
Yeah.
I don't tolerate the disrespect. I don't tolerate the talking back, the getting up, doing what you want to do when you want to do it. At the end of the day, that's a reflection of home. And so kids tend to bring to school what they have at home.
You're right.
Yeah. Kids don't have the ability to, I tell the teachers at my school all the time, you have to be mindful that kids, when we come in the house, we're taught to wipe off our feet. And so kids don't have the ability to come into the house and wipe off their feet. Kids walk in, they come in with whatever residue, whatever the element was before they walked in. They walk in with that element.
They sure do.
And as adults, you have to learn how to see the element to know whether or not the kid came from school to home in a sunny condition, or they walked through the mud.
That's right.
Or
That's
did
right.
they have to walk through concrete? You can tell who they are and their environment and what they had to go through based on what they come into your building with.
That's right.
So there comes some leniency there. So again, while I have no tolerance for foolishness, I am a disciplinarian, but I'm also able to understand how kids walk in and what they walk in with to know how do I need to deal with it. Is this disrespect or is this trauma?
Come on.
Because there's a difference.
There is a difference. And speaking on that, that's good, because this ain't that.
Right.
And sometimes we label children and put them in a cubby hole that they don't belong in. We want to put them in a cubby hole down there, but they really need to be in a cubby hole up here.
Correct.
Because this isn't anger. This is trauma. This isn't trauma. It's just frustration. This isn't a bad day. It's just a bad moment. Right. I have a young lady at my school, and something happened. And it was so out of her character. And I heard somebody say, well, she should know better. I said, wait a minute. If you know that's not how she acts, let's have a conversation. Let me do some intervening here. And so when I intervened, I found out, well, she's no longer like the baby, because even though her mom and dad aren't together, they parent well together still. Right. But dad had another child, a baby. And so, well, I'm not the baby no more. And sometimes parents don't know. You have to let the other siblings know that they're still important, but this child, this baby might need more of my time. Yep. It doesn't mean I love them more than I love you. It means they just require more from me.
Yes.
Because this ain't that.
That's right.
This is not neglect. This is not being negligent towards you. This ain't that. And so once we got that out, the cool thing is I told the mom, well, I'm a mental health first aid responder. So how about we do lunch together on Wednesdays. That little girl has discipled 13 of her other students. Wow. And now it's lunchtime with Jesus and Nurse T.
Okay.
Because this ain't that.
Right.
And so what we could have looked at and thought that was defiant behavior and a bad child, it was just a frustrated child.
Exactly.
Not knowing how to express their frustration and not knowing that what they feel is called frustration.
Right. Exactly. One of the things that I've also had to realize, and I just had this thought the other day, and thinking about some of our kids, we had a situation at my building where our basement had flooded in the building, and we had to get it snaked out. And Monday, I ended up going to the building. I'm supposed to be off on vacation, but
Right.
I ended up going to the building, and we found that there was another. We got another situation going on, and I was like, this reminds me of some of the situations with our kids. Right? We are so busy trying to make and not just kids, but even as because we can relate to education, we can relate to the church.
Yep.
We're
Let's
so
transcend.
busy trying to make the thing look good, and we'll do whatever we can to make it look good, but we don't want to do the work to go down to figure out what is it that's causing this. What's
We
causing
want the
this
fruit,
bad?
but we don't check the root.
Right. And so that's the piece. And so we looked at it and we got it done and everything is good. And we thought everything was good because all of the water was gone. But at the end of the day, we got another
Situation.
we got another backup. And that is because somebody did not want to go into the drain. They didn't want to go into the drain and pick up the roots. And as long as but you didn't understand, they didn't know that there was going to be a problem because it rained. And sometimes all it takes is rain to come to expose that you have not done the work that you really need to do. Because if something is happening, you're still getting backage and things are still backing up and things are still happening, you have not dug down to figure out where is this coming from.
Haven't gone deep enough.
You have to, and you have to go deep. And so that's what we have to do with kids. A lot of people work with kids every day, and they don't want to go deep. And if you don't want to go deep with kids, you need to find another job.
That's
you
right.
need to figure out something else to
That's
do.
right.
And it's ministry. School for me, my job is ministry. And a paycheck is a bonus.
Come on.
But it's ministry to me. And so I believe in going down in that route. So when I have a situation with a kid, we may have another area that may flood, but it ain't going to be the same area.
Wait a minute. Let's talk about little Miss Cece.
Miss Cece.
Baby, I was in my clinic and I turned it on and she said, well, if Miss C, she said, and I wouldn't be here. And I said, and walked, I said, no, this little thing didn't just exit stage left.
Oh, yeah.
You allowed her space to say how she felt.
How she felt.
And she articulated very well.
Yep.
Very well. Wasn't disrespectful.
Not at all.
Expressed how she felt.
Right.
And then I'm done.
That's it. And she said, so a lot of people, I got some inbox, they were like, will you let her talk like that? Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Let me tell you why I allow her to talk like that. I allowed her spirit to be free because I don't want that second grader to now be a 30-year-old trying to talk about things that happened to her in her life at 5, 6, 7, 8,
Because somebody
9,
took
10.
her voice.
Right. Nobody takes your voice. And so I grew up, although I grew up in the 80s, I grew up in a time where, again, my dad was 44, my mother was 33 when I was born. So I came in the generation when the lights come on, there's no where you at. There's no conversation.
You better be on that porch.
You better be
not coming to it on the porch,
you
right?
You can't go in nobody's house. It ain't going in nobody's house without asking. It ain't going to nobody. It ain't going to the store. It ain't none of that. It ain't. I came up in a generation where we had the straps, the overalls, and my daddy was like, "You better." They came with 2 straps,
right?
Put 2 straps on.
Come on,
they came like that.
I better not see your tail.
That's it. No, don't do that.
Because they would pull him down, and embarrass you, and didn't care.
That's the generation I came up. But I'm grateful that I came up in a space where I could ask questions.
Yes.
I remember growing up. So I grew up in the Baptist church.
Yeah.
And I remember my mom going to work, and my mom's as you know, my mom in the choir. Most people know that. My mom would leave work and then come home, and she would have to put on a skirt to go to choir rehearsal, right? And so my mom would leave the pants on and put the skirt over the pants because they couldn't wear pants to church. And so I was about in the 3rd grade, and I thought that was the dumbest thing to me.
Right.
I said, well, if the pants is wrong to wear, shouldn't they be wrong to wear under the skirt? Because you still got the
pay. Come on now.
If the pants is wrong, shouldn't they be wrong for you to wear everywhere else?
Everywhere else.
Why we putting on the skirt for church, but we don't care what we look like.
Why we dressing wrong for church?
That's right. You get what I'm saying?
Oh,
We'll wear a bonnet to the mall. Well, we supposed to be the example. But we'll put on $2,000 worth of clothes to people that's supposed to be on our...
And got $5 million worth of mess.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
On our level. And my parents allowed me to ask questions like that.
Yeah.
They didn't tell me to stay in a child's place.
That's right.
They didn't tell me to shut up. Don't ask no questions like that. And so they never took my voice from me. And so I believe in being in a space where allowing kids to speak. Let them know how to advocate for themselves. You teach them how to speak. You don't close their mouth, but you teach them how to use it. And so when she said, well, Miss Cece don't like snitches.
Right.
But
she just snitched on me, basically.
You know, and it is what it is. Here's the piece. Even with kids, you cannot sing a song. You cannot walk a walk. You can't talk a talk. You can't cook a meal that you won't eat. You can't preach something that you won't do yourself.
Because children are, they say brutally honest.
Right.
No, they're honest.
Right.
And because you live a lie for a life,
Right.
you're going to think that they're being disrespectful.
Right.
You're going to try to get offended, but all they're doing is telling you, this is what I see.
Right. Right.
And this is what you did.
That's right. And so I don't want Miss C to, again, as a child, to become a grown woman. And you say we're going to talk about relationships, so we're going to
we're going to migrate there because what I was going to talk about. And the reason why we're going to hit religion, because, and then we're going to tie this all up right now. And so we get to church.
Right.
And then you have that pastor that slept with Susan.
Right.
Shalice.
Right.
Tamik.
Right.
Tanya.
Right.
Lolita.
Yep.
But we're not saying that because he's still just a man.
Right. And you shut the voice down.
We shut the voice down and you allow the children to see this misbehavior in the church house because you don't want to speak up and hold the pastor or a leader in the church accountable.
Exactly.
Because you were never taught that you can even voice certain things even in church.
That's not right.
And my grandfather, he was superintendent, deacon, head of the deacon, godfather, pastor, father, family, all in the family. And so we were taught, when you read the scriptures with them, if it's wrong, you said, wait a minute. You can go to them and say, hey, this, you said so-and-so, but I can't find it. Can you tell me where that's at? And if they can't tell you where it's at, that ain't God. Because if you can't find it, they can't find it, and God didn't reveal it. You can speak up about that. There's a certain way you have to dress, not the outside. I'm talking about the inside now. And we're focused on the suit and the hair and the nails and the heels. And do I wear pantyhose? Or she shouldn't have that on because she don't have pantyhose on, and that dress is too short and it's too low and it's too this and it's too now. Yes, some don't come in there looking like you Debbie doing Dallas or Tom doing Tammy, but come in there respectfully, but you should do that everywhere, not just at church. And when we start taking the voice from our children, as you said, not only in relationships, but in situationships and in your relationship with your church, when your relationship with your family, relationship with your friends, you have no voice now because you were told to be quiet. Children are to be seen and not heard. And that's why children are molested. That's why children are raped. That's why children are abused, and don't nobody know until years later because you have given them you have told them it is not good for them to speak up for themselves.
And that's why we have a lot of adults now that cannot communicate. They cannot communicate effectively because they have not been taught to communicate effectively. So when we're with our students and we're talking and people are like, dang, like it, you know, you let them, I let them talk.
Yes.
You let them scream and holler and talk. I let them talk because I'm going to teach them how to effectively communicate emotions. See, adults, a lot of times, we be in our feelings. And we got to get out our feelings. Our ego sometimes causes us to miss the mark because we're so busy trying to be an adult that we're missing the mark. We're not teaching. It's not disrespectful for a kid to be able to say, I like this. I don't like this. You made me feel this way. I made you feel that way. We should be able to talk to one another as adults and say, this is what I feel. When you did this, I feel this way. And you need to be able to do that, not when you're upset. And so that's what I want kids to do. I teach them how to go to your teacher. If your teacher's is not right, you have the ability to say, hey, when you said this, it made me feel this way.
That's right.
You have a right to do that. So that's why I am very into young people being able to just voice and speak their truth. Even if it don't always, I'm going to teach you how to say it in a way that's respectful. But your voice is always powerful, and your voice needs to be heard. And your voice should not be silent until you're dead.
Come on now.
Yeah.
But if you said the right stuff when you're dead, they still hear your voice.
They hear your voice.
They still hear your sound.
That's
your
right.
sound is still in the land.
That's right.
You know? So with that, you don't like bullies. I don't like bullies either.
Bullying.
But a lot of bullying happens because parents bully children.
Yep.
They trying to get up and you're yelling at them. Well, first of all, you didn't make sure that they went to bed on time.
That's right.
You didn't make sure that they had their school clothes out for the week. You didn't make sure that you took all their electronic devices so they would not be in their bed on electronic devices and then not getting the proper rest so that when it was time to wake them up, they didn't want to get up.
Right.
You know, because that's not how we were raised. Well, first of all, we didn't have these cell phones, electronic devices, but we had boundaries, we had expectations. And although there was a platform created for us to voice our opinions, we still had boundaries.
Right.
And so then you'd send your child to school after you then called your daughter all kind of bees, then told them they like their no good daddy. You then dogged them. Then you want us to take care of them. By the time we get them in the right, proper state of mind because of what you did in the beginning of their day, it's time for to go home, dismissal.
One of the other issues that I have many times is that parents have to realize your 12-year-old did not have 5 kids. You did.
With 5 different daddies.
And it's not your kid's job to raise
the other 4.
The other kids. It's their job to be a child. And so what happens is when the kids then come to school and they start to act like an adult when they should not have to act like an adult, then we cause these problems. And then you have the parents, well, you know, they're not fussing at them. No, they're doing exactly.
They're mimicking
what you train. They don't know how to be a kid from 8 to 3, and then they got to go home, and you're not getting home till 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning.
Come on.
They got to cook, do homework.
That's right.
How can they do all of those things and still be a child and still be able to be productive? You had the kids. The kids didn't have the kids.
Come on.
So it's not their responsibility to parent. It's your responsibility to parent. And so a lot of kids miss those formative years of being able to just be a child.
That's right.
Because they're taking on the slack of the adults. And that's not
exactly.
That's not cool.
Because you could have used birth control. Hey, Tasha. What's up, Candace? Love you, Niecy Poo. Hey, sis, Alex. Tasha, you're the first one to comment. So you're going to win a $20 voucher to Carby's, girl. That's Derek's good friend, sister. That's his sister. That's my girl. And that's my daughter's godmommy. She is very special to both of us. So thank you. Hey, Manicia, Angelique, Sheena. Thank you guys for there was a gentleman. Travis. Was it Travis?
Yep.
Where is he at? Travis. He said she was Travis, wasn't she hilarious? I mean, she sounded like somebody's grandmother off the mother's board.
Oh yeah.
And I loved it. I absolutely
my supervisor
loved it.
Is on here, Lady Ashley Miles.
I just seen her. Hey.
That's one of the best supervisors that I've ever had in my life. I love that lady.
Thanks that's a blessing.
Glad that she is on here.
That's a blessing.
Yep.
Thanks. Oh, Tasha said, yay. Thanks for tuning in, Lady Ashley Miles. She a pastor's wife?
Yes, she is.
She's apostle and a prophet, too.
She is.
I could see it.
She is.
Lady Ashley, you sitting on that woman's ministry.
Yes, she is.
It's time to sow into your ministry. You sow into everybody else, but I see women of all ages coming. I see you changing and breaking generational curses. I see you birthing something dynamic that will start here, but will travel even internationally. That's what the Lord just showed me concerning you. Okay. And so now we talked about the church. We talked about, the voice there. Let's talk about how it breaks down even in relationships now. How about even in the relationship with yourself first?
Yes.
We forget that relationship. We focus on all others, but we forget the relationship, the stinking thinking that we have towards ourselves.
Right. So even like I said, in growing up in church, which was one of the best. Now sometimes something can be really great.
Yeah.
But it can also be really, you know what I'm saying? It ain't, not a knock or nothing against the church, but sometimes I learned some of my greatest lessons, how to be a leader in church. I learned that. But I also learned in church how to worship people. I had to.
That's good right there.
Yeah, my thing was people. I learned a sense of fake humility. I learned how to not celebrate accomplishments. I'm just learning now, and I'll be 45 years old this year, and I still get antsy about sharing things. All kind of good stuff be happening in my space, and sometimes I get antsy about sharing.
Because you did that with your last degree.
Yeah,
You was
nobody
like,
knew.
you done did the thing.
Yeah.
And come talking about, oh, by the way.
I just, I did
like,
happen to been in school for the last 2, and got a math. I'm like that, and so it's very hard sometimes for me to celebrate me.
Because first of all, we were taught
Right.
that that's not being humble, and that's a tale.
Yep.
That is not the truth.
Yep.
And so you want me to be quiet, but you want us to have an anniversary for you.
Exactly.
I'm just saying.
Hey, don't start.
I'm just saying. Want to have a usher board and everything. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
You got so many programs until you done program the people. She cooking dinner for you and her husband home hungry. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
So I'm just.
Yeah.
Look at me say.
That is
but it's the truth.
Yes, that
it's
is
the
the
truth.
problem. And I learned that in church to not focus on me. So you spend so much of your time making every decision and everything you do about other people. How will other people feel? What's the results of this when it comes to other people?
Come on.
Running your.
Well, they approve of this.
Right.
But you hear what God's telling you, but we don't do it because you want us to stroke your flesh.
Exactly.
And not create an atmosphere of deliverance.
Exactly.
Mm-mm.
I shared some point that I remember prostitution lives in church. There are a lot of pimps and hoes in the church.
Come on now.
And a lot of times we whore ourselves out in the name of doing good. And we don't realize that we're giving ourselves. And once you've given yourself and you have nothing left to give or you're exhausted, now you no longer matter. You no longer matter when you say, no, I'm not doing this.
How can they see the gift and not the molestation?
Exactly.
How can you see the gift and not the domestic violence?
Exactly.
How can you see the gift and don't see that they are the working poor?
Yep.
How you see the gift and don't see depression?
Yep.
How you see the gift and don't see suicidal tendency? How you see the gift and don't see pedophile? How you see the gift and don't, oh my God.
But many don't want
But
to
you
see
want that gift.
They want to see the gift. They don't care about you.
Yeah.
I realized, and like I said, I took a kind of a step back a little bit from church to really become acquainted with God and the Holy Spirit. And so there's a difference. I had to really disconnect myself from church to really connect myself with God. And a lot of people don't understand that there's a difference between being connected to church.
Come on.
And being connected to God.
That's right.
So many of us are connected. Our relationships are with our pastors. Our relationships are with our organizations.
Come
our
on.
relationships are with the mundane religious activities, but we never tap into who God is with you. You
That's
get
right.
what I'm saying? Who is he?
That's
And
right.
and greater is he that is within me than he that is in. Well, what do you mean that's within me? I thought God rely on other people, and that's why many times we become despondent and we become discouraged when human beings, because our relationship was never with Christ.
Come on.
But our relationship is with people.
Come on.
And so I had to learn that many years I gave my gifts and I gave the things away to people in church, and I was prostituted because I served under pastors for many years.
Many years.
And was never pastored.
Many years.
I served under pastors for many years and was never pastored. Never cared about anything that I was going through. Never asked me questions about how do you feel, what are you doing, and whatever the case, or anything about me or concerning my life. And so it's always been about the gift. You get what I'm saying? It's always been about what do you have to offer. I thank God I'm in a situation right now where I have my bishop cares about me. He sits down and has conversations with me.
Not the gift.
Right. My pastor will sometimes show up at my school. And my office manager, Dantes, he'll say, Bishop out here, my bishop will come to my school and my first lady will come to my school and they will have conversations with me. How do you feel? How are you? Who are you? What do you think?
That's right.
Me and my pastor, we talk about life. I can talk to him about anything. And so in 40 years, this is one of the first times that I can actually say I have actually been pastored and know what it feels like to be pastored.
It makes a difference.
It makes a difference. It makes your ministry different. It
takes
changes
to another
things.
realm, not a level, another realm.
Right. And then you can respect the person that's there, because guess what? When I'm at my church, I don't have to sing a note. I don't have to play. I don't have to do any of those things to matter. Do you get what I'm saying?
Listen, they're not happy that you're here so that you can hit that keyboard or that organ. They're happy that Derek the man is here.
Right. So you like me as long as
you can benefit from it.
Right. So you like me when your church goes from 15 people to hundreds of people. You like me when your choir goes from 5 people to 65 people, but you don't like me when I'm saying that's not right. You don't like me when I'm saying you ain't doing that right. You don't like me when I'm saying you don't like when I say things that goes against what your desire for me. So you wanted me to be here for this purpose, but you can't just have one of me. You got.
But yet you call me a man of God, a woman of God, but you can't hear God speak through me to you.
Exactly.
And then when you don't, then you get into a whole bunch of mess because you didn't heed the word from the woman or man of God. And so now you have a whole situation. Now you want to come and try to get the man or woman of God to come back and be the crazy glue to put your pieces back together when they didn't have to come apart if you would just listen to what we said.
And just listen. And so even in that, I've had to, because I am a very self-reflective person, and I look at my gifts and my callings and I liken it to my son. My son is able to now wear my clothes. He can go in my closet and pick an outfit. But there would be days when my son will go in and grab a shirt and the shirt is too big. And he's tripping over the t-shirt, right? And I actually just here, this is your shirt now. It's no longer my shirt, but he's tripping over the shirt, even though it's his. He has to grow into it.
He has to grow into it.
And it belongs to him. And so that's the same thing with our anointing. That's the same thing with our gifts. That's the same thing with who we are. We have to learn how to grow in it. And there were times that even in my own growth, I tripped over my own anointing. God gave it to me. God gave me this gift. God gave me my talents. God gave me my anointing. He gave me all of these things. He gave me my voice. But because of a lack of immaturity, a lack of understanding myself, sometimes being angry and being upset about other things that had nothing to do with anybody else, I tripped over my own 2 feet. And so that's one of the things I try to tell my students. I take that to my students and I tell them, they be like, what does that mean? Don't trip over your own 2 feet. And so there were times even in ministry as a leader where I tripped over my own 2 feet. I allowed my gifts sometime to overstep. And so sometimes in church, we can allow our gifts and callings to overstep. Our title can be whatever our title can be, but there is a place that your title and your gift needs to stop. So if I'm the minister of music, I'm not the pastor. My name ain't on the outside. You get what I'm saying?
This ain't my church.
Right. And so I need to pay attention to what God has assigned me to so that I can be saying the right thing. Everything I can be saying, but I can be the cause of a delayed deliverance in somebody because that is not my place to do.
That's right.
And so when you say this ain't that, we have to understand our place. We have to understand our roles. We have to understand our callings. So those are some things that I had to learn and I had to understand. Again, I was playing and directing choirs at 8 years old. Yeah. So I walked into it. I didn't have a lot of teaching, quote unquote, about the business parts of it. I knew I knew how to direct and play the piano. I knew how to do all of those pieces. Yes. But when it came to the spiritual pieces, because I was churched, I wasn't saved. I could sing the songs, lay people out, get choirs, whatever the case may be. But I was not saved. And so because I was not saved.
And there is a difference.
Right. I was churched.
Yep.
I had a form of godliness. I knew who God was. I knew scripture.
You had the look.
Yes.
You had the scripture,
but I didn't have anything on the inside.
that's the substance
I didn't have
of
the
you
substance.
didn't, and they didn't show you how to operate in the anointing.
Right, but that never mattered to
Exactly,
most people.
it didn't.
It didn't matter. They didn't.
Yeah.
That didn't matter. And so that is some of the piece with communication. You get
Exactly.
what I'm saying? We have to be able to say to our leaders. It's just like my kids are able to come and say, like little Miss, like Miss E said, "Hey, I didn't like this. I didn't like that."
Yeah.
She was able to say that. We have to be able to say that. We have to be able to communicate to our leaders, and we are at a place where we have so many leaders that place themselves in a position of being the Godhead that you can't say anything to them.
And what about this, though? You put yourself in that position that you are the leader, and then you have all these other ministers under you, and you don't teach them. I know somebody called to the ministry, and I've helped cultivate that, because when I said, well, do you have ministers class? Make sure you attend your ministers class. They asked the pastor about it, and he said, oh, Sunday school. Sunday school is not a minister's class. That is not how you teach someone who is called. You know, how do they learn how to go and family calls them to come in and somebody's dying, and what do they say? You know, how do they come in? How is their posture supposed to be? You know, what if the woman's getting abused? What if the man's getting abused? What if they're gay? You know, we're not teaching.
Right.
But we're ordaining, but we're not teaching. You just want them to learn a bunch of scriptures so they sound like church. You want them to buy suits so they look like church. But you don't talk about their weak areas, their heart motives, the areas that they need to get fixed and healed in. And then you want them to fix and heal me?
Right.
How you going to clean my face and your hands are dirty?
Right. I think a lot of times we get an unction. Like, I was called to preach at 18 years old.
Yeah.
Right? But I did not start preaching till like 2015, right? Because a lot of times God gives us grace. I thank God that He entrusted me. How can I say that? He entrusted me with a treasure chest. But He didn't give me the key.
That's good.
And I'm grateful that I didn't go in and try to take the pliers to open up the treasure chest.
Yes.
I waited till God gave me the key.
He preserved.
Right. And so a lot of times God will give us a foreshadow of what's to come, but that don't always mean that we're to do that right now.
Say that again. I've been telling people that, because this ain't that.
Right. It don't mean that you should do this today. It don't. But it means that you should start preparing,
because that's coming.
Because it is coming.
Yes.
You get what I'm saying?
That part.
I am a fool if I go out and put on my bathing suit and go walk down at Edgewater right now.
Come on.
Just because it's giving me a little glimpse of 71 degrees. We are still technically in winter. So I may have the clothes for the season.
Know your season, baby.
I may have the items for the season, but this is not the season for me to
wear
put
them.
the thing on.
Come on now.
And I have to understand, and we have to understand our seasons. God gives us a glimpse. Just because we got the bathing suit in the closet don't mean it's time to put it on.
And sometimes with the seasons, you have to let certain people, places, and things go. And sometimes we're not operating in our proper season. We're supposed to be in the winter. Why winter? Because some things have to die.
Yes.
Some things have to die so some other things can be born. But we want to stay in the spring because these people are in my spring. But baby, you got to let something go so something else can grow in that place. And so sometimes we hold on too tight to what God is trying to let go, and then we get mad, but we've delayed the process.
Right. And it's lack of communication. And when we're talking about communication, we have learned to communicate with people. Our relationships are horizontal. But we have not been taught that our relationships ought to be vertical. And so when we cut off this horizontal relationship and we take out the middleman. You get what I'm saying? We take out the middleman, and then we go straight up. We go right here.
Yeah.
And then that changes how we handle things.
Come on.
You know, when our relationship is pointing to Christ. And so we're able to know, okay, exactly what should I be doing? Because sometimes we talk to people. I don't like a lot of times, even with social media. That's why a lot of times people say, why you don't talk about stuff? I don't talk about a lot of things because sometimes life and death lie in the power of the tongue. I was
going to say that.
Right? And there are people that are alive that are actually death. and you be speaking life out, and they're killing life, and they're speaking the opposite of the things that you're speaking. So we have to learn how to effectively communicate to God. We talk too much to people, and that's why some of the things that we want to come into play, into fruition, won't come into fruition because we're talking to destiny killers.
So let's put a pin there. And that's why it is important to know those that labor amongst you, not those that just work on the job with you or just in the church. You have to know the spirit of all those that are around you, because if they are not a visionary for themselves, and if they are 50, 60, 70 years old still talking about I'm fitting to, I'm going, and you've not done anything in all these years to work towards it, then how are they going to see a vision that God has spoken to you? How are they going to support that? How are they going to speak life over that? They don't have the capability, because if they can't do it for themselves, they surely don't know how to do it for you.
Either you're going to push a vision or you're going to create the division.
That's it.
Either one or the two.
One
of the two. And that's why we have to learn how to effectively communicate with God. As we go back, one of the first scriptures that I relearned said, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures." And when you talk about green pastures, what does that mean? Well, we're all sheep. Sheep won't eat from dead hay. They won't eat from things that are dead. So he maketh me to lie down in a place where I can grow and prosper. He leadeth me besides the still waters. When you understand the anatomy and the makeup of sheep, sheep will stand by on the banks of the Niagara Falls and die of thirst.
Because the water's trouble.
Moving too much.
Come on.
It's moving too much.
Come on.
And so when you understand the characteristics and the qualities of the shepherd, it causes you to see people differently, and it causes you to now move away from people that don't have those qualities and move towards people that do.
Without explanation.
Right. And sometimes they don't look, sound, and feel like what we think. They're not always the people. The shepherd is not always, don't always have on the cassock.
No.
He don't always wear the cassock.
No.
His name is not always, or her name is not all. It ain't always a he. You get what I'm saying?
Come on, it ain't always a he. Come on, bro.
It's not. And so when you learn to first identify and connect with the Lord as being your shepherd,
that's right.
He will then place you in a place to show you, okay, this is what this looks like. This is what this sounds like, and this is what this feels like. But when we when we disconnect ourselves from church and connect ourselves to God, we're able to see what the shepherd looks like, feels like, and sounds like.
And we don't get caught up in our emotions, and we know how to detach from certain things. That I always do this comparison. Back in the day, and you're old enough and yet young enough to still to probably, Mama probably had this. When you had the nice curtains hanging, the drapes hanging, they had weights in the bottom of the hem so that they didn't draw up. They stayed nice. That's and right. they stayed in place. But what has happened, we've taken the weight off of what we're hanging and what we're carrying, and so it's all over the place. It's not uniformed. It's not in order. It's not structured properly.
That's right.
And so it looks a hot mess. And so while we're standing there thinking we're looking good, we have no weight. We have no substance. We are not standing, upright.
Right.
We're all drawn up in this area. We're hanging in that. The crown is crooked. It's just discombobulation, and we have functioned in spiritual dysfunction. I call it spiritual schizophrenia. You was at this church, and then you went here, and that wasn't good, but now you over here, and now you complain about this and that. Okay, it's not it's you.
Yeah, it's
because you don't have this relationship.
Yes. If you've been in, and I don't know, maybe me and Tasha was on one of my sisters, we were talking, but if you've been in 5 different relationships. The relationship can be a friendship. It can be a romantic relationship. It can be a spiritual, whatever that relationship is. If you have been in 5 different relationships and you found that 5 times it did not work, and your first notion is to blame everybody else.
You got the pattern, baby.
You are the problem. You're the most
pattern.
consistent person in that inconsistent situation.
Come on now.
And so you play a role in it. And so you have to look at yourself.
That's right.
And that's one of the things that I was saying, even in church, I had to, having the gift and having the anointings and having all of that, I still had to look at me.
That's right.
I had to take a step back to check me. Hey, there's some things that I'm doing that I'm not operating in spaces that are right, and I need to make sure. Let me get myself together, because the more I get myself together, the more that I allow the Lord to show me. To show me naked,
the good, the bad, and the ugly of
show
me.
me. The more God began to show me, He began to illuminate the foolishness in other people.
That's right.
But I was able to see the foolishness in other people because I allowed God to show me the foolishness
And
of
me,
myself.
come on now. And it has to, and I have an issue. I have a concern, not an issue. I have a concern when you can see everybody else, but you've never ever mention anything. You want to talk to me and ask me for prayer for this and this, but you never say, but I should have done this, or I shouldn't do this. When is it ever you?
Right.
You know, when is it ever you?
Right.
Surely God is not speaking to you about Tanya and Derek, and he's not saying anything about you.
Right.
When is it ever you?
We have to do that. I think many times when we're taught in church, we over-spiritualize practicality, right? So if I'm at a place where I find myself coming to the church every month because my lights and my gas is off, right?
Well, sir.
But I got a $40 a week weed habit.
Well, sir.
I'm at the casino, right? I'm shopping. I'm at the mall. I'm doing all of these other things. Prayer is not going to help me.
Come on.
I need to learn financial literacy.
That's it.
You get what
That's
I'm
right.
saying? And it's almost like sometimes in church
discipline.
we are afraid to say, okay, I need to pray. Let me pray that you are able to see things correctly. There's nothing wrong with having prayer and a therapist.
Jesus and a matter of fact, at 7:45 a.m. tomorrow, I'll be in my office looking at her on video, and she'll be looking at me on video.
Right.
Because if you can, and I say this all the time, you trust God for everything or you trust Him for nothing. If I trust that God can work with the pilot who's going to fly that plane when I go to Nassau at the end of this school season, then I need to trust that He can work through a therapist.
Exactly.
If I can trust that if I take a Tylenol because of a headache, I need to trust that He can work through a therapist. I had to tell a pastor one time who told me that I was disrespectful and that's why women shouldn't be preaching, because one of his members came to me and I said, well, have you considered a therapist? And they went and told him. And I said, well, you take Viagra. You know I did. You know I said it. So if something on you was broken and you got a pill to fix it, just that something on her was broken and she needs a pill to fix it.
Right.
So you can't have this and say God's working through this to help you, but she can't take a pill so that God can help the chemical imbalance that's going on in her body. Come on now, because this ain't that. Boo boo, this ain't that. This ain't that.
You can't say, Lord, lift me up and let me stand. My faith on heaven's table, man. Well, there's something you need to go and get. You may need to go to the Walgreens.
You're right.
And get something that's
right.
You know, when you're going to pray and do some
period. Yeah. Some things. We're going to ministry in all areas of your marriage and life. And so you can't trust God for all your stuff and then tell me I can't trust Him to work with a mental health therapist. That is wrong. That's a lie from the pit of hell.
It is nothing wrong with it.
Nothing
at all.
At all.
Nothing.
The Bible says be transformed by the renewing of your mind. So He already knew that things were going to touch our mind. Let this mind be in you, which is also in Christ Jesus. Casting down imaginations. It's so a man thinketh, so is he. A double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. So God is already letting us know that there's going to be some mental things that we're going to have to deal with.
Right. It's like the woman with the issue of blood. She did not stay sitting in her in her sickness. She moved. And
didn't care about what they said, because she had to smell.
She had to press her.
That's right.
way.
That's right.
You get what I'm saying? So she moved. She had to press her way because she was considered to be unclean. She couldn't go into the temple, which is the craziest thing, because we so busy saying that the church is the hospital, but yet we don't want the we don't want the unclean to come to the place that's supposed to cleanse them. Right. That doesn't make sense.
Because we don't like their clean, because their clean is different from our clean.
Right. But once the woman with the issue of blood understood that her healing did not lie in the temple.
Come on.
But it lied
in her temple.
And
Her
it
belief,
lied,
her faith.
right? And it lied in Christ. She pressed her way through the crowd to just touch the hem of his garment.
But she had to because she had no strength.
Bingo.
I was a woman like that. And when you get like that, your body's literally depleted.
Right.
Your hair falls out. Your nails get brittle. Your skin gets a little pale. You know, you're depleted. You have no energy. So literally she was bent over.
And she found that many times we think that, and that's why I said our relationships have to go from being this horizontal thing to this vertical thing, because once she actually connected to Jesus, her healing, her breakthrough came because of her connection with Jesus.
That's right.
She didn't have to have a third party. Her connection with Jesus brought about her deliverance.
Because immediate transference happened.
Right.
My virtue left me. Yeah. That meant he took her stuff and gave her his stuff. Yep. The perfect transfer happened. Yep. And so speaking of transfer, let's talk about the political climate and this imperfect transfer. So people think, but nothing happens unless the Lord allows.
Yep.
Unless the Lord allows.
Yep.
And now we see a whole sector of people who want to take their vote back. Honey, you can't get your vote back. Boo-boo, this ain't that. You thought it was going to be okay because it wasn't going to touch you because your skin wasn't as brown as mine.
Right.
But guess what? It's hitting you.
Yeah. You have a lot of people that, and it's just my opinion. You have a lot of people that I found that people that did not like me, right, would join with people that did not like. Now, they didn't even like each other. But two folks that don't like me
will join together
to try to come against me, and y'all don't even like each other.
Right.
And so here's the piece. I noticed that, and just, looking on social media and reading things, you have a lot of the right party coming against a lot of the things dealing with gender and transgender, all of those things. And so when you have people, I don't like that, I don't like that, I don't like that, so I'm going to vote for you. But you got to understand a whole lot more stuff comes along with that. So you get rid of the trans and all that stuff. But you also, now we talking about today where I read where there's now this piece where we can now have a white water fountain and a black.
I heard that. Yes, I heard that today.
So you have to be careful when you take on people just because they have a mustard seed of something you agree with. What's the rest of it?
Because we're not voting for just abortion.
Right.
We're not voting for transgenderism. We're voting for equal rights for everybody. Everybody deserves the same level of respect.
Right.
And guess what? I don't agree with some things heterosexuals do. So why am I out there targeting somebody that's not heterosexual? I don't agree with some things that heterosexuals do in their marriage.
Right.
So we focus on the wrong stuff. We focused on the wrong stuff. And now this has gotten us to a place now where those people that were focused on the wrong stuff are realizing what you thought was going to happen and what we told you was going to happen and what he said was going to happen has now happened. Yep. Now you want to rescind some stuff.
Yeah.
You can't rescind what you've done.
What you've already done.
done.
And sometimes you got to allow people. One of the craziest pieces, sometimes you have to allow people to sit in their own mess. And sometimes you got to sit in their mess
with them. But thank God we covered.
Yep.
Because what the songwriter said, my hope is built on nothing less than Jesus' blood and righteousness. And so with that, that's where I stand in all of this. Because it affects, I'm disabled. Social Security disability, Medicare insurance.
The DEI
it's bigger than what people think.
Yeah.
It is bigger. How can you say you're for the military and you're cutting benefits for the veterans?
You can't be.
You can't be.
Yeah.
You can't be.
It affects students with individualized educational
That's
plans.
right.
A lot of those things are covered under, and so a lot of those benefits they're trying to get rid of for our students. But at Northwest School of the Arts,
come on,
I don't care what he talking about. we gonna still give our we gonna do what we supposed to do for our kids.
St. Francis is doing the same thing.
That's
We
what
doing
we
the
gonna do.
same thing. We supporting the families and we supporting our children.
gonna do.
We support. So let me. So you have an album out, don't you?
Yes.
Let the people know where they can get this album.
So you can find Gospel Ensemble of Cleveland, Ohio. Our album is on. It's entitled Covered. It came out in 2023. You can find us on Apple Music. You can find us on Spotify. We on YouTube. We are on Pandora. We are all over the place. And so we're currently working on some new tracks as well for a new project that we're trying to do.
Oh, that's gonna be fantastic.
This year. So we're trying to do some stuff now. So we're currently working with Philip Jones Jr.
Okay. He is awesome.
That is my buddy.
He is fantastic.
So he's working with us. And so we're in the process of creating some tunes now. We just was doing some things on Monday, getting some music together.
So would you like to come back next month?
Let me know when we come back. We can go down with it.
Cause baby mama and your bestie, she comes on Winners Part 2.
We can go.
So cause we can't have a break to come between it. So let's do it again the third Wednesday next month because this is good right here. And it's freeing. And it's also, do you know how many people have this conversation with themselves or think this stuff and they don't have a safe place to release it or say, and so what they're doing today is saying, wow, yeah, I can identify with that feeling. I've been thinking that. God revealed that to me too. So they can see them in this conversation that we're having because baby, this ain't that.
Exactly.
They making you feel like you wrong for questioning stuff. But the Bible says if we lack knowledge, we're supposed to ask God, who gives liberally. So we can ask God a question. How come you telling me I can't ask you a question?
That's right. We got to be able to talk.
We have to.
We have to be able to ask questions, and we cannot be so nervous and offended by every little thing that somebody asks. We got to be able to ask. You got to.
Alex, be quiet. Alexander said a series. Yes.
Let's do it.
We can do that too.
This is needed.
We can do that too because it is needed because there's so many aspects. When you come back, we're going to talk about the do's or don'ts of dating because this ain't that.
Let's talk about it.
You know,
Let's talk about it.
Yes, I've been really, my husband's been gone 15 years. I've tried to date, but it just doesn't work because this ain't that. I'm more than a booty call. At 60, I need a husband. I don't need a booty call. I mean, that's nice when you get married, but this ain't that. You got to court me. And a lot of times the reason why men don't understand is because too many women have lowered their standard.
Right.
And so they think all women are that. No, baby. And then women think that all men are dog catchers. No, honey. I mean, are dogs. No, baby. Right. You're the dog catcher. Right. So as you said earlier, the common denominator is you. So you got to change your pattern.
You got to be healed.
You got to be healed.
I was talking to me and this was me and Tasha conversation, and my homegirl Maisha, and talked to my little brother Donald, and I was sharing with him that many times when we go to find something. Let's say it's Saturday and I know I got to wear black on the next day. So I go out and the first black item that I see, I get it.
Because it's black.
Because it's black and I got to have it by tomorrow. You get what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And that's some of the piece. We go out and we get stuff because we're looking for black. Some of the best things, the best outfits I found, you know when I found them off season.
Yep.
When I wasn't looking for them.
Yep.
And so the best piece of advice for relationships, one of the best things you can do is fall in love with a friend.
That's good. That's true.
Thing, because you're not looking for that. Your friend sees you not the way Facebook sees you. They see you with the curls and the rollers, and they don't see you all made up, and they don't see you. They see you for who you are. They know your secrets. So you're having conversations. You're having every piece that you talk to your friend about is things that will be unattractive.
Well, here's what I say. I say your friend, that spouse, when they're your friend, they see you without your Spanx, but they become your Spanx because they hold you in. They make you look good. You know they're there, and you feel confident with them.
You know, I know where you got to end, but your mate is like this. You know, my dad, and I ain't ate beef and pork in a long time, but last time I ate some of my daddy's ribs, right? My dad make ribs so great that they don't need the sauce.
Come on.
I make a cheesecake so good it don't need a topping.
Come on.
The relationship.
Say it, fix it.
It's like the sauce.
That's right.
The relationship is like the topping. You don't need it to make it good, but it just add an extra little
yeah, that little flavor.
That's it.
That little flavor. Well, we'll be back next month, so make sure you tune in on the third Wednesday of next month with more conversations with Auntie and D. Lockett. I want to thank you for tuning in, and I hope and pray that something that we said here inspired you and encouraged you to live your best blessed life unapologetically, because you owe it to yourself. You owe no man any explanation, but you owe God and yourself your best. So put your best foot forward and do the daggone thing. Love you. Peace. Smooches.